Cam, and thanks everyone for joining the session. It's great to see you all. Today's topic is strategies to uplift quality capability. So we know to deliver high quality software, we need a great software development lifecycle, great processes, great tools, automation, AI. All of these processes, techniques, and technologies can help accelerate delivery. But without the right people, with the right capability, we can't really get anywhere in the first place. So our topic today is really looking at how to build that capability and how our panellists have built those capabilities at the companies that they've worked with, both now and in the past. I will mention too that today's panel is recorded, so keep that in mind when you're sharing information. Each of our panellists will be drawing upon experience from current and past organisations, and we certainly won't be naming any names, only if it's a positive. So our panellists today, I'd like to welcome Emily Cannings from Canva, Naveed Ahmed from Viola, Mandy Kosler from Minter Ellison, and Vedra Chandrasekhar from IAG. Veda from IAG. What I'd like to do is give you a chance to briefly introduce each of yourselves. Talk just very briefly about your role and something that you're really passionate about, both in testing and outside of testing. Over to you.
Hello. Does this work?
It does.
Yeah. Okay, great. Hi, I'm Emily. I'm a QA manager at Canva. Something that I'm passionate about inside of testing is working in partnership with the stakeholders that we have rather than QA feeling like the stepchild in the corner of the room. Something I'm passionate about outside of work is sport, in particular women's sport. So if you need an icebreaker to come and talk to me later, sport is a good way to do that. Over to you.
Thank you. Hi, everyone. My name is Naveed, and I think in testing, especially in the quality space, I think my passion is very much about establishing the quality center of excellences and implementing the governance and making sure that what quality is all about. A lot of people confuse that with testing and quality, what the differences are, but I like to establish that kind of frameworks and center of excellences. Outside of this, I'm a die-hard Liverpool Football Club fan. Very much passionate about sports as well. So anybody wants to
I think you're just copying me.
No. Because I played in sports at international level as well, so I'm very much into those things. So yeah, happy to have a chat with anyone on that too. So over to you.
Hello everyone, this is Mandy Kosler here. I work for Minter Ellison, those who don't know Minters. So this is one of the biggest Australian law firms, so bit of a different domain. In quality assurance, I'm passionate about quality. I have been into QA for nearly 25 years. I'm as passionate of quality today that I was on day one when I joined QA. Outside of work, I love to support women who are specifically impacted by DV through various organizations like Blacktown Council, Tukli Neighborhood Center, Matruchaya. So that is it about me. Thank you. Over to you, Veda.
Thank you, Manji. Hi, everyone. I'm Vedra Chandrasekhar. I'm a quality engineering manager at IAG. In terms of quality and what I'm passionate about, yes, I agree with everything that everyone said, but in addition to that, I think the end user experience or the customer experience plays a key to me. So at the end of the day, I'm a customer myself, and when I want to approach any product or service, I want the best for me. So I would want that same quality to be embedded into whatever we're delivering today. So that's really close to my heart. Outside of quality, I do love to travel, and I do have a niche for photography as well. So whether it's traveling across New Zealand and enjoying that scenery, or traveling into Bali and just exploring that culture, I like to see nice of both worlds. Taff, back to you.
Fantastic, thank you everyone. So during the panel, we'll certainly have some pre-prepared questions, but we will also welcome questions from the audience. We'll interact a little bit throughout, and we'll make sure we leave some time at the end for some Q&A. So, to our panellists, first question, what does success look like in a modern quality engineering environment?
Any particular order?
Anyone?
I'll go first. So I think in today's world, we have evolved as quality engineers in a big shot. Like we've gone, as you've seen from the spokesmen today, from manual testing to automation testing, and now we're doing AI assistant testing, and of course we're exploring agents as well. But I think we've moved away. We're not the gatekeepers anymore. We're not the guardrails anymore. We're more about being the enablers. It's more about how do we embed quality into every single process of the SDLC. We've gone and moved away from having a testing phase as such. I think that quality should be embedded in every single thing that we do, from unit testing, from requirements gathering. So it's something that we embed, I suppose, throughout the life cycle that we do have.
Fantastic, couldn't agree more.
Yeah, in terms of success, to me, success looks like when we have shifted from thinking testing as a bottleneck to quality engineering as an enabler, strategic enabler, and then having management thinking quality into their decision making. So that's what that fundamental shift from testing to quality engineering, that looks like success to me.
I think if I have to define the success, I'll just simply use one word. We are the gatekeepers. We have been doing these things like every stage, be it from the discovery phase or in the build phase, wherever we are, the QA specifically from the quality side of it, when you have that proper governance and assurances about that, yes, we are ready to move into the next phase, or if it is in the agile world, it's in the parallel work that you're working with the client, right? So as long as you have a proper gatekeeper, I think that's where the success would definitely matters a lot.
And I think for me, three main things. The first one I would say is that we find the right balance between speed and quality.
Yeah.
So we're not going too fast, but we're also not going too slow and being that bottleneck. The second one for me is I think a lot about future-proofing our function. And for me, that means that we're shifting away from testing static products to evaluating the outputs of LLMs. That's something that is really on my mind for the future. And the third one for me being a manager is I want my team to be happy and fulfilled and engaged at work. And that is something that I think about a lot, because people are happy. I think you're 80% of the way there.
Yeah.
Sorry, that was a cliche.
No, I couldn't agree more. You get so much more out of your life cycle if you've got high productivity, and you get high productivity when you've got happy people that want to go that extra mile, work that extra hour, put that extra oomph of effort into building quality in. Fantastic. Were there any questions or comments from the audience at that point on anyone got any burning questions or anything they'd like to contribute? No problems. We're still getting warmed up, so all good, all good. Now look, Veda, I think you really hit on a really important point that traditionally testing was a phase, sort of a phase that seemed to come and go from the life cycle. Quality was therefore coming and going from the life cycle.
Yeah.
Really, I think a lot of companies now can really relate to that concept of transitioning and moving from a concept of testing to quality engineering and really building quality into products. We know we can't test it in, we've got to build it in. So how has your company, or each of your companies, really approached the transition from moving from a testing environment to a quality engineering environment from a capability perspective?
So I think through my previous experiences, it's more about bringing your stakeholders along to the journey. We really thought about, yes, we're doing testing today, that's really great, but what else can we do more? Where else can we build the quality? How do we co-work with your product owners and your business analysts to see what the requirements are? As Manoj clearly mentioned, no product owners, right? So in terms of breaking down the requirements or looking at the requirements, we've seen it so many times that it's missing so many aspects of it. So how do we co-work with them and apply that quality lens from that requirements phase where you're jotting down all the requirements and helping them out on the journey and just letting them explore and think of the other areas where we are all the specialists in, right? They don't have that scope or that skill set within their area. So it's from there onwards. And then even with the developments team, like how can we improve their unit tests? Yes, they're doing lint checks and all of that to ensure that the code is working as expected, but how do we make sure to catch those defects much earlier? So it's really co-working with the different stages that you do have and building that capability across each and every life cycle that you do have.
Couldn't agree more.
In my opinion, shifting from testing mindset to the quality engineering, it's not like one solution to it. What I see that there are multiple initiatives that needs to be run in parallel, whether that's focused on people, whether that's focused on technology, whether that's resistance to change or change management, whether that's tools and technologies supporting us. So there are multiple initiatives that I'm working in parallel, and one is leading to the success to the other, and building on top. And I wouldn't say that we are there yet. It is like a journey, continuous journey, with AI now coming on the top of the pile, pushing us our boundaries in, and we are progressing through to be the quality engineers.
Fantastic.
Yeah, I think I agree with both of you as well in this regard, because when I look at my experiences, it's a step approach. It's a stepwise approach. You take small steps. You need to start showing it to your management or your teams that yes, testing is one part of it. You start with testing, you make it look successful, you actually do the deliveries, and then slowly and steadily you start to convert that testing approach into your quality approach and start to go into the phases where the testing were not originally being acceptable. And then obviously stakeholder management and all these things, the discoveries, and you start talking to it and you start to define the quality. I think one of the biggest factors that we achieved in one of my previous organizations was that even if you're in waterfall or agile world, we talk about that this is a definition of done. That has to be an acceptance criteria, and if your testing team or the QA members give it a pass, then you move on to the next stage. We also started introducing the definition of ready with the help of the QA team members. That are we actually ready to develop that part, that particular feature? So again, it's a stepwise approach that we took in the past, and I think that really helps. So that's a kind of a paradigm that we follow to go from testing, converting that into quality, and then going into a bigger scale of the picture.
Absolutely. Emily?
I think it really depends on the kind of company you work for. Because a lot of what you've said probably wouldn't necessarily apply too much at Canva. We don't need our product to be perfect when it goes out to users, because we can continuously develop it, right? We can experiment, we can iterate, we can change. Whereas at one of my last companies, Airbnb, I worked on the customer support tools. And if something goes wrong at an Airbnb, it's not that there's a bug in the software, it's that someone's in danger, or someone is, locked out of an Airbnb in the middle of the night in a foreign country where they don't speak the language. And so I think that it really depends on the stakes of your product as well, in terms of like how much gating that you need to have. But the way that I like to approach problems is, I think all problems are people problems. And so I like to influence people by making sure that whatever process I'm trying to implement, there's something in it for them. And I like to frame it to them like that. So I think one thing that we've done at Canva that I personally think makes a massive difference is that in the software engineers' roles and what they get measured on, quality is an aspect of that. Because I think that when you're only measured on your product delivery and how many features you ship, obviously you're going to prioritize speed over quality. So having both of those baked in as something that is measured and is a metric that the business looks at, I think is really important.
Yeah, definitely. I couldn't agree more. That just got me thinking too, just to go off my original script for a moment. Really when it comes down to it, quality is what the customer perceives at the end of the day, and it's the customer we need to understand. Now, of course, from a testing and a quality engineering perspective, our customer can be the customer of the product. They can also be the customer of our services that we're delivering to our organisations. How do you go about perceiving your internal customers inside your company and your external customers? Is personas still the most modern approach to understanding our customer? Are we using AI to understand the customer? Is it still the marketing team that kind of reaches out? What's the mechanisms that your companies go through to understand your customer, and that your team goes through to understand your customer?
So again, I'll start. So through my previous experiences, we really had an amazing opportunity where we would actually work alongside with the customers. So if it was at a bank, you'd go to your bank tellers and you'd sit with them and just get that scope and understanding of what is it that customers are really looking forward to. And that's how it really helps in terms of us being quality engineers to really understand our customer and then make sure that whatever product we're delivering to them, it's actually ticking the boxes that they're looking for. I'm all supportive of the latest technologies and the tool set that we do have, but we do need to cater for the different demographic type of customers that we do have. There are some, elderly customers that may not be as tech savvy. So we want to build a product that enables them as well to empower and experience that best level of customer service as well. So it's a mixed combination. It's not like a one fit solution to all. So really understand your customer. So that was the one privileged opportunity we got where we could work with our end customers. And then coming to internal stakeholders or your internal organizations, it's all about delivery and the money and the revenue that comes through. So in that perspective, your data is your best friend. You really drive the data that you have and really prove the point to say that, look, based on statistics and data, this is what we think good looks like. And that's where we really collaborate with your stakeholders and influence to say that this is what good should look like and this is what we should follow.
Very nice. Would anyone else like to add?
In my organization, in the legal firm that I work for, I see stakeholders or my customers at 3 levels. One is the non-legal departments for us, say for example HR and finance. Understanding their requirements, when we are doing that, it's very collaborative. We have an easy access to them, less time pressure. They give us the time, we do the workshop, we understand them, we go through their challenges. We basically talk our language, we understand each other better. The next layer of stakeholders for us are the legal people, who are the lawyers or the senior counsels or the partners of the firm. They are very legal focused people, don't worry about technology, they are high pressure job they have, they are billed every 6 minutes, they have a high pressure of earning fee. Not getting their time is another challenge. Working with them, sitting with them, understanding their point of view, they have nothing to do with technology, all they are deep dive into very critical legal work. Understanding them, then when I started involving with them, then it felt like, oh my God, what we think is common, it's not so common for them. And then what I then felt the need of bit of a shift in our mindset as well, being testers, being the quality engineers, not just preaching the quality, but understanding and talking the language what they understand, sitting with them, having understanding, then refine the ways we are working. The third level of customers for us are customers whom we are providing the legal advice. Because the software that we are using those software to fast track our lawyers' work, which in turn are delivering value to our customers. So we don't have direct access to those customers, but those customers' voice come to us in terms of when our firm puts in strategy and have the strategic initiatives planned at the firm level, that gets translated at the digital level in terms of the digital strategy, that comes down to us as a quality assurance strategy. So that's how I read my customer demands for an external customer.
Beautiful.
I think for me, I actually came into the QA industry by being a guinea pig for a usability study for Airbnb. So I was an agent in the call center, and they wanted to build a new tool for us, and so they randomly picked me and did a study. And I remember asking them really basic questions like, how do I cancel a reservation? And they were like, oh, we didn't build that. And I was like, okay, that could be a problem. And so I think what was really eye-opening for me in those first few months that I was involved with the team, that I haven't forgotten, is how little authority I had when actually I was the expert on the customer, not the product manager. And there were a few people that really listened to me and took my advice on the product in those early days. And I have retained that lesson to listen to the experts, even if they seem more junior to you, or they don't have a degree, or they don't know the circle back kind of terminology that we use in technology. They're the ones that are close to the customers, and I think they're a really valuable source of information. So for me, one thing that I really loved about working at Airbnb was that we had a pipeline where we brought people who were customer service agents in the call center into QA. We can teach people to do QA, but it's really hard to teach people to be experts on the product and experts on the customer. So yeah, I really found that fulfilling. And at Canva, we do a similar thing, but it's more tooling solutions. So for example, we engage with vendors like Full Story, where you can actually watch customers use your product and see what they click, where they're rage clicking, what they say while they're using it, where they're getting stuck, etc. So it's really helpful.
Fantastic.
Yeah, I think for me, one of the things that I strongly believe is that you need to understand your business, what exactly they are doing, your internal customers, your external customers. I've worked for a couple of organizations where we had no interaction with our external customers at all, but our internal stakeholders were, you had to do a lot of change management with the testing team, that you go and talk to them, understand what their requirements are, how are they going to test the system, how are they going to look into the system, what are the areas. So when you start talking to your business more, it's more like stakeholder kind of engagement that you're doing. When you start to understand what they're doing, how they're doing it, and you come and start implementing that as part of your kind of a testing strategy or the plan that you want to work with them. So when you go back to them, they start to understand that yes, you understand their language and you've converted that into your own side. So understanding the business, I think that really helps a lot.
Couldn't agree more. Business, internal customers, external customers,
Yeah.
and using our own staff as the people who can tell us and how to understand our customer.
Yeah.
Couldn't agree more. Outside of my work with Planet as a practice director, I also teach software testing at La Trobe University 1 semester a year. So I'm taking all of this on board. I'll make sure I reference our panel members when I teach about personas and how to understand the customer later in the semester. So thank you. I'm learning every day. Beautiful. Now, I think, Naveed, you actually left off on a really important point there. Really understanding stakeholder expectations and knowing how to understand your stakeholders, how to influence your stakeholders, and what to do when you get pushback from stakeholders. We have a panel, a survey that Cam ran in the lead up to testing talks. One of the questions on the questionnaire was, what is the most overlooked skill testers need in 2025? And the number one skill was influencing stakeholders. So, really like to hear from our panel about what kind of opportunities have you had in influencing stakeholders, and what kind of challenges have you faced that you needed to overcome in influencing stakeholders from the perspective of building quality engineering practices and building a quality engineering capability?
I'll continue for where I left basically. I was working for Boral, and obviously it's a construction company, and I was pretty much like one of the very first persons to come into their QA and have to build up the full capability. The digital transformation team, yes, they understand what the quality is and what we are going to be doing, but again, my first approach was to start to understand the business, what exactly they are doing, and the products that we are going to be upgrading or making for them. I started to go and talk to the business at different sites. I started to spend time with them on the sites, in the country towns, in the areas where they're working, where they're actually using those products, how they're using it, what their roles like that. And that basically helped me a lot to understand more that what exactly they're doing. And when I came and I started to convert those into the capability and started to pretty much like in a very simple world, when I started to create the test cases out for the products that they were supposed to be testing, and when I took those things back to them, they started to like, yes, this makes more sense. Yes, now we understand it. Along with that, giving them the confidence that yes, these things will not actually going to take your jobs away, because if someone is using a system for past 30, 35 years, they do get confused. They really get scared that, oh, this is going to a young kid is coming in who is going to teach us the new product, and this new product is going to take our jobs away. But you need to start to talk to them, bring them to a level and understanding that yes, this is actually going to help you to be more productive, and we want you to test it. We want your confidence to be in there first, and then we're going to take those steps. So those basically, again, it's my personal experience that I'm sharing that actually helped me to understand and bring to a level to those stakeholders where they actually feel very comfortable.
Beautiful. Yeah. Fantastic. Go to the stakeholder.
Yes.
Yeah, beautiful.
I'll answer this question with few examples from my recent organization, very basic examples. When I started working for the organization, I was basically responsible for setting up the QA practice. In that, I did very first week, very pumped, enthusiastic. Very first month, I did a 2-year strategy on a page, and management backed it up. It looks great, but that strategy doesn't mean anything until it is executed. Mm-hmm. So I had all the senior management back up with me. They were along with me. There was no challenges in that space, but the people who are getting impacted if I implement that strategy, those were the one with the lot of resistance. How do we deal with them? So in dealing with them, it is about the small wins, showcasing, doing the small things that have the bigger impact, that helps them that we are there to help you, reducing your workload, adding in, even though going via a long way, following a process, but ultimately how incrementally it will save a lot of time. The second thing that was like, rather than telling them, dictating what to do, taking them on the journey with you. Feel them part of the journey from the beginning rather than telling them, hey, I have decided this and do this. So that's like kind of a one example. The midway second example is around a tool. The Jira, very basic test management tool. We brought that in the organization. When I got that tool, I got a lot of resistance. I don't know how to use this tool. The very first thing is like, okay, you write the defects in Excel, I will put that in. The next release, I said, okay, let's do it together. They were there. And then they were like, nah. I said, okay, let's design a form in front of the, integrated with the tool. You just enter the 3-4 fields. It will create a defect in Jira. The next time I will sit with you and let's do the defect together. The 4th time they are fine. So different journeys we need to deal differently. At the moment, I'm working on the AI data set collection. That becomes our golden data set for future because legal field is such a niche field. I'm not a lawyer, so I need to rely on SMEs. Again, there is a pushback. How do we get their time? How do we analyze the outputs? How do we say it is a good output and no? But it is about leading, showcasing them the value, the task that you are performing with us, how they are leading, contributing to the overall success of the organization and or overall how it's contributing to the strategy. If you give that meaning to those users, then they are willing to help. They feel like, oh, it is actually leading to the customer satisfaction, which is our strategic focus. Oh my God, I'm helping it that way. Then they are on the journey. So it is depends upon what kind of initiative you are working on, what kind of a support you need them. From them, different techniques work.
So demonstrate the value, bring the people on the journey and show them the value at the end of the day in relation to what they care about. Beautiful.
I think for me, this is going to absolutely shock the audience. Not everyone thinks QA and testing is like sexy. Some people find it boring. So I like to just have a bit of fun with it. I think that fun and silliness goes a long way. Like one of my values, I would say, as a person is just a bit of silliness. Injecting a little bit of hee every now and then, I think goes a long way into getting people on your side and getting them motivated to go on the journey with you. So I like to do a little bit of dabbling in silliness.
Love it. Again, it's motivating the people, helping them feel at ease. Yeah. And then you get the most out of them.
And everything they said as well, of course. But,
and this is innovation. We need to be innovative.
In different ways, yeah, for sure. So I think all have covered wonderful points, but just to add on me, I think the 2 key takeaways here is language and trust. If you have these 2, you can definitely go along a long journey. I know when it comes to quality, yes, we have to deal with your management, your different stakeholders, but I unfortunately had the challenge of actually dealing with QA engineers where they wouldn't come along the automation journey, for example. Some of them are really interested and they didn't have the skill set and they wanted to upskill, but of course, deliveries always took over and the priority was always towards deliveries. So yes, they wanted to upskill themselves in automation and really grow, but deliveries always come first and they were always pushed down with that. The other side of some team members, they're like, no, automation's not for me. It's not what, building that trust in automation took a really long time, especially when you're working with legacy systems and, one of the top banks, it becomes a real big challenge. So in those areas, I had to really hire automation skill set team members as well that will come on and do the automation, but then give the opportunity to those manual testers as well to come along the journey. So split the work 50-50, get the automation testers to do a little bit of the manual testing so your delivery is not affected, but at the same time, you're giving your manual testers an opportunity to learn. And I would pair them up with the automation engineers as well, so they have like a mentor kind of a person where they can peer review their work and help them out along, build their development goals as well. in terms of like just building that trust and, you know, bringing them along with the journey, with the others that were not interested in automation, you would explore and, you know, mentor them to see what are their interests and where do they lie. And I think luckily for me, it turned out really successful. We were able to uplift the test automation from 0 to 60% within the first 6 months of me joining the team. So that was a very successful story for me.
Fantastic. So bring in the experts that know the role, that can then uplift the capability to demonstrate the value, show people why they can trust the process.
100%.
Beautiful, beautiful, fantastic.
We have questions in the audience.
Yeah, I was going to say, there are questions, please. Do we want to? Yeah, I'll bring the mic on down. There you go.
Thank you. One factor which I was trying to find from the panel was influencing senior stakeholders. So they have an example, $100 budget. They spend $50 already in discovery. Now comes down to the delivery. Now you have $50 only left, but you already estimated $50 for just testing. Now the pressure comes to us always, delivery people. Now how were you able to influence to get back that $50, or you reduce your budget and hence the quality? Obviously raising the risk and issues is a common thing, but did you let that pass because of the cost pressure, which is, believe me, in my 18 years of experience, every project had that. Okay. So
trust me, you're not alone in this journey. I think we've all faced that challenge at different phases. So in terms of the budget and cost and dealing especially with, you know, senior management and TALT, I think data is your key. You may not have the money or the funding to bring in the top-notch tools. I've seen some wonderful tools that have been exhibited today. In those instances, you really need to think outside the box and explore what are the opportunities, what are the open source solutions out there that you can maybe just give some time allocated within your team to upskill themselves and try those tools out. A lot of the times, we just don't see the capabilities or the skill sets we have within our own team. So I had to build a very lean team as an example. So I'm very passionate about females in this industry. Because when I went to uni and I was studying software engineering, I was the only girl sitting in my lecture. Like I was just surrounded by males. Not that it's a bad thing, it was all right, but you know, I'm really passionate towards that and I want to see growth towards that. So I'm actually personally mentoring and part of a Code Like a Girl program within my organization, where I'm looking at junior staff, hiring them and giving them the necessary skill set. At the end of the day, I get my delivery within my budget-friendly ways, and it's a win for them as well because they're learning something and getting that commercial experience that they need. So you need to find your ground. It's not an easy challenge. Trust me, we still have it till this day. It's all about how do you go lean and how do you be creative.
I think for me, a really simple way to look at it is, I don't know if this is the term for it, but the program management triangle. So I think about cost, time, and quality. So if we're constrained on cost, okay, well, it's going to take longer or it's going to be delivered with lower quality. And I think in my experience, senior business stakeholders, they don't like to hear no. They like to hear yes if. That's how I like to answer their questions. So if they tell me we got no money, they don't want me to say, okay, it's not possible. They want me to say, okay, I can do it if la 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 la. So if you're happy with delivering a solution that could be incident prone or is more risky, or we haven't done any accessibility testing or so on and so forth, then it's up to them to make the decision on the risk, right? It puts the power back in their hands, like, cool, these are the consequences of your budget, mate. So that's how I like to look at it.
I can answer this question. It really depends on the project you are talking about, how much risk is associated with it. There is not one technique how we solve this challenge. It really depends on, you need to be creative depending on the situation. If the situation is where you can link the concerns to some kind of a business risk and convert that to a legal or compliance and link up to that, then generally I'm able to get the budgets. Even though they have said no, you always get the budget. There are projects which are not directly linked to business value or business risk. You are always pushed down on, I need to be very creative around that. So we need to find middle grounds there, that based on the risk, as Emily said, that I always say yes, I never say no. Yes, I can do it, but if da 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 da, and that's always in writing. And then making sure the management is aware of it when they are saying yes or a no to something. then they are accepting that risk as it is. If there is something low priority thing, then we push around a little bit within our team how we can best manage and how we can do things, because ultimately firm puts trust in us, and then we need to be delivering something. We can't just always say, I can't do it.
Yeah, I couldn't agree more. Using risk as the balance point and the negotiation tool. Naveed?
I was about to say that I agree with all of you in terms of that it varies from project to project, but at the same time, if you're compromising on quality, at the end of the day, you will be spending a lot of time later on to fix it and spending more money on that part, right? I think one of the ways that I found work for me to an extent, but again, depending on the project and company and how the management takes these things, is that start the early testing. The discoveries that you're doing, the sessions that you're attending, start to involve your quality engineers or testers in those sessions, and they can start testing the system even the system is not there. They can start to give their inputs, do the early testing that will lead up to your continuous testing later on as well, even at a smaller scale. So that will start to remove a lot of defects, a lot of issues that you'll find at the end of the day. After it goes live, you can fix those things very early stages.
Absolutely. Prevent the defects from occurring in the first place, and then we don't get stuck in that rework cycle that can be really costly. Yeah. Couldn't agree more. Did we have one more question here? Yep. Bring you the mic.
Hi, I'm Shobha. My question is, what are the challenges you faced when you tried to change the quality culture in the teams from a QA to QE? And how did you overcome it?
I can answer this one. So with the changing the shifting the mindset, I think first we need to establish us delivering some sort of a value before going and asking to the senior executives for their support. Their support is a key in having that transition. First, we need to win over their heart, their mindset, so that whenever we need their support to tell the junior staff, it's coming from them, and they are echoing the same that we want to echo, and they become our quality champions. And then we need to deal with the resistance, as I said, taking everyone on the journey, showcasing the benefits, linking it to the business value, the business outcomes, and then we can leverage on the data and the metrics, where we can say that before implementing the initiative, if we can draw on some kind of a cost of not having that quality practice versus how we can reduce that cost in future, showcasing those kind of metrics and speaking the language of who understands what. For example, if I have to tell senior stakeholders, they are more interested in hearing cost saving, ROI, talk of that language. If I'm talking of more of the legal professionals, that how can I change their mindset? They want to hear more of reliability of the software. They are more understanding, can I trust the output of this software so that I can use in my legal words? You showcase the value in that term. If I'm talking of the digital stakeholders or the IT stakeholders, talk in their language of scalability, reliability, maintainability, then they understand those things better. It's about how you are actually, what language you are using, and then taking them on the journey and shifting their mindset.
Communicate in a language that your stakeholders will understand to demonstrate the benefit for them. Yeah. Beautiful. Yeah.
I think I just want to say one thing, that the biggest challenge that I face is more establishing the QA itself. QE comes very late. When your management, or like I have worked in at least 4 or 5 companies where I was one of the very first person to go and establish the capability, right? Be it a testing capability, be it a QA capability. It is very challenging in terms of to make them understand what exactly the success looks like, what's the ROI that you're going to get out of it, what is the investment that you're doing and what you will get out of it, right? And then you, again, to be very honest, I think we all agree, writing a test strategy on a piece of paper is I think is a piece of cake for all of us now, right? But implementing that and then converting that into success and working with the stakeholders, managing up, managing it down, they all are these challenges that we face every day. Once you start to show this success in terms of any metrics, it will eventually start to, when you moved your paradigm from QA to QE side of it, you've already shown that success from that one. When I started working as an example at Borrow, I established a testing capability, converted that into QA capability, later on converted that into QA Center of Excellence. Because we have been showing success in the past, we ended up creating one of the biggest UiPath Automation Center of Excellences in Australia at that time, because we had shown success in the other areas related to the same field. So if you're going into that sequence of events and you're showing success, I think you will not face much of those challenges.
So you need that demonstrated success,
Yes.
so that your stakeholders trust you.
Yeah, exactly.
Absolutely. And then allowing you to do more in the next cycle round.
Yep.
Fantastic.
I think we're about to have the next frontier of that as well, though, like not from QA to QE, but to evaluators of AI. And so, yeah, I think we're at very different, different companies, and I think that, you know, we have a whole broad range of companies here.
Yeah.
But how I've been thinking about the future of evaluating AI outputs as a function of QA is potentially there's different personas within our industry, which once was all just quality QA analysts or whatever, or quality engineers, might in the future be something like quality evaluators or quality tool builders, working title. And I think, like, when I think about how we're going to evaluate AI outputs and AI products, I can see in my team, I'm like, okay, there'd be some people that are really excellent at getting in and actually building a tooling solution. And then there'd be other people that are really good at going out and communicating with the stakeholders and making sure everyone feels safe. And then there'd be other people who are really engaged about thinking about the ethics of how we evaluate AI, or, you know, the governance and things like that you were talking about before. So I think also potentially it doesn't need to be a black and white shift, but okay, maybe we have multiple different roles within our team, all working towards quality.
Fantastic. And I love that thought towards continual evolution of the capability that's needed, and continual evolution of the life cycle and the way we look at the life cycle. Great segue too, Emily, because we actually have the final question. Actually, there was another quiz question that Cam put out. What would you like to hear about at Testing Talks Conference 2025? And in fact, practical AI testing solutions was number one. So really keen to understand, where are each of you at in terms of building AI-driven, you know, capability within your teams, whether it's looking at how to test AI systems, or how to utilise AI to test systems, or how to utilise AI to test AI systems? Go ahead.
Yeah, at Canva, we are huge on this. So we have a philosophy in our company, AI everywhere. We talk about AI in every single meeting. It's a constant. We've just developed a new framework for how to kind of communicate where you're at with AI. But yeah, we're heavily investing in every single person in the company having strong AI skills. So that's really exciting. I think that, you know, people have their different opinions on AI, but to me, I think it's inevitable. And so I just want to be ahead of the curve. So I, you know, think about using AI tooling to improve your productivity, i.e. ChatGPT, writing your performance reviews or whatever. That's cool, and I think that will just come. Everyone will have those skills in a couple of years, and I think that's just going to be natural. But where I spend a lot more time thinking is, who in the tech industry is going to be responsible for how AI products deliver out their outputs? And I think there's probably two main ways that we could evaluate it. The first one is what used to be call centers handling customer inquiries might be evaluation centers that are just giving thumbs up, thumbs down to AI outputs, right? Cool, okay, we could do that today. Is it scalable? I don't know. Is it ethical to have you know, all of our evaluation be happening in this one big call center in this one place with this one kind of people? I don't know, something to think about. Or do we want LLMs to evaluate LLMs? And so battle of the LLMs, that's another option. I think from what I can tell, there is no defined way. And I think that this is going to be industry changing and game changing. And I don't have a real solution, because I don't think anyone actually has a real solution for this yet, but it's definitely something that I'm interested in exploring. So sorry to all the people that voted for real solutions. I don't have one.
I think
coming at next year's testing talks. no
Yes,
doubt.
watch this space.
I think where we are on at a level where we want to understand, rather we are basically doing that, understanding that how we can use the AI to test our systems. But at the end of the day, there's one question that always comes at how we're going to test the AIs as well to make sure that they work fine. So we are in that kind of a very, you can say, imbalanced kind of a situation. But like this is where we are at the moment. So let's see how we go with those things. But I agree with Emily that
Watch
the
this
way
space.
the way it's going and the way it's evolving, eventually it's just inevitable. It's going to come to us. Yeah.
Yep. You better, Mandy.
In my firm, the way I see AI and testing as two iterations or two kind of different journeys. One journey that I see as testing in AI, how do we test the AI systems that my firm wants to bring in? So we are already kicked on that journey, we are already progressing. So we are evaluating at the moment 2 to 3 AI tools which our lawyers would be able to use it. And what we decided as a strategic initiative is that we won't go with the feeling of what people feel like during the pilot, because if there is a user who is very vocal, doesn't like the tool, all people gonna hear is this is not a good tool. Whether that's a true evaluation or no, we can't really trust that. So what we have decided to go through the structured testing for those AI tools and evaluations. So what at the moment I have put in some governance structure in and guidelines in how do we evaluate the outputs, how do we mark a prompt and the output is whether that's a pass, whether that's a fail, whether that's flagged, whether that's acceptable, whether that's not useful. And it is not just one yes and a no that people can decide on, saying, yep, this is right, I accept it, not accept it. So there is a deeper evaluation, breaking down of the output, measuring and analyzing that output for what is that AI got right, what is that AI has got wrong, what is that information that AI has missed. Even further dividing that output, these outputs into what is that critical bit in it, what is that must have, or what is that nice to have, or what it is accelerated my output, took it to the next level, even I couldn't think of, and added a value. Based on those combinations, there are guidelines that we say, okay, how do you then tell it is accurate, reliable, and based on those metrics that we have used, then we say that whether the output is acceptable or no. So that's where we are in terms of testing in AI. The other part that I see is that AI in testing. How do we leverage AI tools or AI for bringing in efficiencies into our work? So we are not much ahead in on that journey yet, but no specialized testing AI tools yet, but we have kind of a target of adoption rate of 80%. So we are utilizing the co-pilots, we are using the various chats and all those LLMs which are generic, not specifically for testing, but utilizing for testing in day-to-day life. I can't think of a single day when I don't use them for my work. So that's where we are in terms of both the journeys.
Beautiful, yeah, and I perceive, testing LLMs, it's almost similar to a performance test. You can't just run one test and is it a pass or fail? You have to run repeated tests to find out if in the ballpark you're getting something that's acceptable. There's a technique called metamorphic testing that was developed by T.Y. Chen of Swinburne University here, in Melbourne, sorry, I'm from Melbourne, I was going to say here in Melbourne, down in Melbourne. And that approach is, basically, is it in the ballpark of acceptable behaviour?
Yeah, and also we, in collaboration with one of the Sydney Uni, one of our internal team, who is like technology team within Minters, who develops the technology solutions that supports working for our clients. So we are developing a LLM as a judge, internal one, but training that on specifically the way my firm operates and our lawyers operate. And then I'll be looking at shortlist testing that as well with the golden data set that I was referring to earlier, that we are trying to extract that from our lawyers and building that.
Beautiful. Would love to hear more about that next year, I think, at the next conference, and how that's progressed.
Yep.
Better.
All right, so for us, I think compared to all of this, we are in a little bit more of a matured state. So we have like we've all embraced AI and we all accept that, this is the way that it's going to be. So we're really pushed quality engineering to be part of that journey. So within my organization, we do have a program called AI Activators. So at the moment, I think we just got the update this week that we have over 200 AI activators across the organization. So that's not just within testing, but overall. So we've embraced AI as an organization. Saying that, in testing space, we have tried to do some things such as, your BDD script generations from your requirements. That worked well. It's working really well. We've incorporated GitHub Copilot, so all our developers and quality engineers use that to make sure that they've got clean code, following the coding standards. We want to make sure we don't have any hard weights, flaky tests, all of that. But we did try something where, I just want to give an example of where AI wasn't that great. So we tried to work with agents and, using the LLMs to come up with prompts where we could, automate our page objects. So we tried that. We came up with a solution. It looked fantastic at once. I think when we first showed this to my team, my whole team looked at me like as if they've just seen a ghost. They're like, oh my God, that's my job gone. But on closer inspection, we noticed that it wasn't really giving out all the objects that we needed. So I think the lesson that I want you guys all to take away is, yep, AI is great, but that determination and distinguish between what's good and what's not good still sits with us. So that's like a key takeaway that I think that we should all hold very close to our heart. I read this really interesting line, and I think I'm going to use it. I can't quote it because I don't know who it belongs to, but AI is going to be here for a long time. I don't think AI is going to replace a quality engineer's job or anyone in that space, but it will definitely replace a quality engineer that doesn't embrace it or know how to use it well.
Agreed.
So definitely use it, but use it well. That's the key takeaway.
Do we have any time for one more question, Cam, or we need to go to the...
We need to keep moving. One question in 1 minute, I'd say.
One final question, down the back here. Quick question.
Okay, guys, I have been delivering a couple of transformation projects over the years. One of the major factors which has reduced the timeline is the UAT. So my question is as a group, as a whole, and to you guys is, we involve business from the requirements perspective. We carry them forward to, why don't we bring business to the sit level and leave UAT out of, all out of the phase from the phase perspective as well, and we can get it a bit faster to the market approach. Does it sound stupid or
No, not at all, not at all. My only but and if is, if you are bringing the business over into sit environment, then make sure you're there to support them, and as you are bringing them technology technically support them as well. Yeah, why not? I don't see anything wrong with that. I think that's a great suggestion.
I've always had success with iterative sit and iterative
Correct.
UAT. Yeah,
100%.
absolutely.
Because again, environments are a huge game changer, right? So I think there was a question about budget and how do we ensure that we deliver on budget. The more environments you have, the more budget you need to maintain them. So if you don't have a UAT environment and you've got a sit environment, definitely bring them along to the journey. And from my experience doing UAT, I never defined the test scenarios to them. I just gave them the environment, I gave them access, and I'm like, just go on with your day-to-day job and do it in sit. As long as you've got the environment available there, because I know environments are a different topic, probably for another conference day as well.
Yeah, definitely.
We can't fit that in today.
Well, look, thank you so much, everyone. We have, the final quiz question. What was Naveen's favourite sporting team? Oh, I saw this here. Liverpool. Well done. Great. Thank you so much to our panellists. Well done.
Thank you so much.